Hello everyone, it's Carrie. I'm back with another face-up video. This time I'm doing Edward Scissorhands. For this project, I'm using this pack of Derwent watercolor pencils along with several other art supplies that were gifted to me by a dear friend who, these were her mother's art supplies, and she gave me just a ton, and I'm just so grateful and excited. I just was overwhelmed with the amount of products that were in this box that she sent me, and all of them products that I use. So this beautiful set of Derwent watercolors along with all of these individual like open stock pencils. And then she also sent me this box of soft pastels by Derwent. This is all vintage, of course. I am not familiar with Derwent soft pastels, and I don't know if they still make them. I tried to look and I couldn't find any. So if anybody who's watching knows anything about these, that would be wonderful if you would put it in the comment section below. I'd love to know more about the product and why they don't make these any longer, or if they don't. So I was super excited to give all of these a try, and I enjoyed every minute of using them. If you're watching this, Michelle, thank you so much. I just cannot believe that you did this. She sent me these along with a lot of other supplies, and I've been using them like crazy. It's so fun. So to get started, I was using this acetone, pure acetone, to remove the factory paint. And then before getting started, I also I washed it with soap and water, and then I sprayed it with about 3 coats of Mr. Super Clear. That was, of course, after I did this extra step on my higher end products. I like to, or higher end projects, I like to remove the seams and do some sanding. So this is a tip. If you have small spaces that you need to sand, this works well to do that. It's a nail file or electric nail file. I use it for just about all of my projects where I need to do some sanding. So I'm just sanding down the seams and some little notches at the elbows and knees, just to give it a more smooth surface. And then I'm going back with a sanding block to sand it down a little bit more. So I got started here off camera in error, but I just added the white to the eyes and defined the shape a little bit. Looking back, I don't know if I would have used this doll to do this particular project because the face is so different, but I really liked how the body on these Monster High male dolls looked with the Edward Scissorhands costume, so I stuck it out. But maybe if I did another one of these at some point, I would do like a head swap with one of the Ever After High dolls. So with that said, you'll see a lot of shading. I'm working really hard to try to kind of capture that look of Edward Scissorhands on a face sculpt that looks nothing like him. So I took out a lot of this video because of the many layers of shadowing that I was doing. It was just layer after layer of doing the same thing, so I didn't think you'd want to watch that. So here I'm adding in the red on the lips, and I darken it up quite a bit throughout with some black. I'm using Pastel for shading as well as the Derwent pencils. So I had gone in with quite a bit of black around the corners of the eyes, and you still, as you can tell, can't see it quite well, But I just kept layering and blending that out. I'd also gone into the cheekbones and under the chin, and you'll see me do that again later to add more layers. So this is partly, the shading here is partly to give it that sort of gaunt face look, but also to kind of give the shape of Johnny Depp's character a little bit more. This face sculpt, like I was saying, it doesn't look anything like him, and it has like a sort of a protruding chin. I'm using the Invisibility doll, and most of the Monster Highs kind of have that look with a large jaw. But so I was trying to make that appear a little bit smaller to look like the character. So here you can see after several layers the dark around the eye starting to show up. Just doing a lot of blending. I'm relying a lot on the colorless blender by Pastel. And later on I start to do, well, here I guess I'm doing a couple of scars. And after this video, I think I went back in off camera a couple times to darken up the scars that I added. In retrospect, I might have done some sculpting on the face to bring out those scars a little bit better. But I mentioned this on Instagram, and this is a project that I really had thought of doing several years ago, but I stayed away from it just because the level of detail that it required, especially in the costume. So I'm really proud that I accomplished it as it is. So I added some wrinkles in the forehead with some soft pastel, and then gave them, went over the soft pastel with a little bit of pencil lines just to give a blended look. At one point I felt like it looked so different from the character that I had to do something different. So I stared at some reference photos for a really long time and realized it would look a lot better if I pulled the hairline down. So after I worked on the face up, I actually added more hair along the forehead and sides. And you may be able to tell here I drew it in to see where I wanted the hair to go, just to give that same hairline as the character. It worked out pretty well. Made it look a lot better. These Monster High dolls have some really big heads, the males, the like really long faces. I'm doing some shading at the upper lid to give the illusion of some eyelashes. And I don't do the false eyelashes typically on the male dolls, but I do draw in the lower lashes. And here you can see I'm drawing in, as I was talking about, the hairline. So I went back in later and rooted it along that line. So like with my other dolls, after I was done with the face up, I went in and added some gloss sealer to the eyes and lips, after having given it a few more coats of Mr. Super Clear for a final seal. And before I put the varnish on the eyes, I do some highlights here. there's that gloss varnish. So here he is in his full costume. This is a doll that I was making for the Mad Monster Party in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a convention in February. If he doesn't sell there, he'll be available on my Etsy page or Etsy shop. So check that out if you're interested, or send me an IM or a message on Instagram or an email. If you like this video, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. I'd also love it if you'd subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.